welcome to Baking with Nadia. Today we're going to be decorating a half-sheet chocolate cake. Some of the equipment that we'll need are a doily paper, a half-sheet cardboard, some parchment paper or wax paper, pastry heads, spatulas, pastry brush, pastry bags, sugar water, strawberries. You can put strawberries in your chocolate cake if you'd like, and you may need a knife. Okay, and of course, I'm going to be making a 3-layered chocolate sheet cake, half-sheet cake. So you'll need 3 layers of a half-sheet cake. Please refer to my channel on how to make a chocolate half-sheet cake. And you'll also need whipping cream. It depends what kind of frosting you want to put in it. We're going to put chocolate whipping cream in it, and we're also going to put, I think, just fresh white whipping cream. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of our sugar water, and that's going to aid as a glue for our doily onto our cardboard. So I'm just going to take a little bit of it and dab it down like that. And just go ahead and then we're going to take our first layer of cake, chocolate half-sheet cake, and we're going to just center it right here on our cardboard. Okay, looks good. And I just have this wet towel that I can clean my hands with. It works great. I've gone ahead and cut 4 strips of parchment paper, and we're going to gently just insert it on the edges of the cake. So I'm just lifting the cake edges and inserting this. And this helps to keep our doily paper nice and clean, so we don't get any sugar water on it or whipping cream while we're doing that. Okay, that looks beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and apply our sugar water to the cake. And this sugar water helps to moisten the cake, and it gives it a little bit of sweetness to it too. And you apply it to the entire cake. So before I put the sugar water on the cake, I went ahead and peeled the thin layer of the cake that's on top. I've peeled that off. And you usually do that right after you bake the cake. You let it cool just a little bit, and then that thin layer can easily come off with your fingertips by pulling it off. And some people do keep it on. You can if you want to, but I feel like the sugar water seeps into the layer of cake a lot better when that thin layer is off. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put our first layer of chocolate whipping cream on top of this cake. So I've gone ahead and grabbed a pastry bag and a pastry tip. I'm using a large pastry head, and just put it into your pastry bag. And you can use disposable pastry bags too, or Ziplocs, whatever works for you. And I'm gonna put in our chocolate whipping cream. I've made chocolate whipping cream, and please refer to my channel on how to make fresh chocolate whipping cream. And we'll go ahead and apply it to the cake. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add my strawberries to this cake layer. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add some powdered sugar to our strawberries because they're not as ripe and as sweet as I'd like them to be. Now, if your strawberries are ripe and sweet, then you don't need to add any powdered sugar to them. Should be enough. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a thin layer of the chocolate whipping cream to our strawberries. So what I'm doing is just adding a thin layer of the chocolate whipped cream on top. Always make sure the sides of your cakes have enough whipping cream so the edges don't droop down. So here we go with our second layer of our chocolate cake, and just gently eye it and put it on, and then gently put some pressure on, press it down with your hands. So I'm going to go ahead and just add sugar water to my second layer of chocolate half sheet cake. Now, if you don't want to make a half sheet size cake, but you want to make something smaller, you can do a quarter sheet cake by just cutting this in half. So it's really up to you and what you're making it for and how many people you're making it for. Now that I've finished putting the sugar water on the second layer, I'm going to, instead of chocolate whipped cream on the second layer, I'm going to put fresh whipping cream on this layer, and I will also add strawberries again to it. If you want to know how to make fresh whipping cream, please refer to my channel on how to make fresh whipping cream. So let's go ahead and apply. And you can put whatever type of whipping cream or frosting that you like in your cake. That's up to you. And if you don't want to use a pastry bag, you can always use a spatula to lay out your whipping cream. So we're going to go ahead and add fresh strawberries to this layer also. And I've cut my strawberries ahead of time and just slice them into thin slices. You could do it as thin or thick as you like. I've used strawberries that came in this little basket. This is approximately 32 ounces. I feel like I could have added a little bit more strawberries to it, but if you want a lot more strawberries, you can maybe buy another basket. Otherwise, this is the size basket of strawberries that I bought. And now we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more of powdered sugar to this layer of strawberries. Now we're going to put one more layer, a thin layer of fresh whipping cream on top of our strawberries. And again, if you rather use a spatula, you can. Okay, I ran out of my fresh whipping cream, so what I'm going to do is just use a spatula to smooth out the top like this, so every part of the cake gets a little bit of excuse me, whipping cream on top of the strawberries. And it looks great. Now we're ready to put our final layer onto it. All right, we're ready for the last layer, so let's go ahead and put our last cake layer on top. All righty, it's nice and moist and spongy. You're just going to have to eye it and gently place it down and make sure it's right on top of the other layers and centered. And then you can gently press down with your hands. Okay, we're going to add our sugar water to the final layer, the top layer of our cake. Now that we're done with the sugar water, we're going to put the final whipping cream on the top layer of our cake. So this is going to be chocolate whipping cream. And you can refer to my channel on how to make chocolate whipping cream. So we have one layer of, actually 2 layers of chocolate whipping cream, and the center layer is fresh whipping cream. And we have 2 layers of strawberries in this cake. So this cake is going to be absolutely amazing. And you can fill the top of the cake however way you want. You can even do it with a spatula again if you don't like using a pastry bag. The top is done. Now we can do the sides also. Okay, we're going to go ahead and apply the whipped cream to one edge and then smooth it out and then go to the next edge. And I'm using a jug of hot water to help me smoothen the edges out. Okay, we're going to apply the chocolate whipped cream now to one of the longer sides, and we just pretty much do the same thing. We start from the bottom and build up. Okay, then we'll take our spatula, dip it in the hot jug of water, and just smooth it out like this. Okay. So I just dip my spatula in the hot water, shake out the droplets, and apply it to the whipping cream. And it does a nice job of helping to smooth things out. Okay. So we're going to smooth out the top. You can use a bent triangle like this or a straight or both to assist you to smooth out the top. So let's see. Sometimes I use one, sometimes I use the other, sometimes I use both. So you just keep doing strokes like this and using your hot water, and eventually it smooths out. And if you have areas where you need more chocolate whipped cream, you can just go ahead and add that too. I just added a little bit more chocolate whipped cream to fill in the gaps and get it all even. Okay, we're going to go ahead and decorate the top, and I'm going to use a French head to decorate the top. And we've actually made 3 batches of chocolate whipping cream. And I had my whipped cream out a little too long, so it's starting to melt a little bit. But once we're done, we'll put it in the fridge and it'll be fine. Just gonna do that. That side looks great. This side looks great. We're going to use a small French head to decorate the bottom with. And really you can use whichever pastry head you like, whatever shapes you like. It doesn't really matter. It's your preference. So make sure you always keep your whipped cream in the refrigerator when you're not using it for it to stay firm. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and decorate with a few strawberries, and that will let us know we have strawberries inside the cake too. And you can do your own decoration, whatever you like. And I'll do one in the center. There you have a half-sheet chocolate cake with 2 layers of chocolate whipped cream and strawberries, 1 layer of white whipped cream with strawberries, and just plain chocolate on top. It looks beautiful, and enjoy.